Hi everybody, and welcome to Observing with Webb on YouTube for November of 2014. November is shaping up to be not too busy of a month. Really what we've got is a Leonid meteor shower, which isn't that great, but it's there. We might be able to get a chance of Mars and Jupiter as well during the month. But the cool part is really that the days are getting shorter and the nights are getting longer, ever more so every day. And that also means that we are getting toward daylight savings time ending, which ends on November 2nd, which means that we have the nighttime ever so sooner or at least an hour sooner every night. What I'm going to talk about today, whenever you're looking at this, I'm going to look at the planets, Jupiter and Mars, that we can see for this month. Then I'll move on to the events for the month. Tracing the moon throughout that path. And then I'll talk about the constellations for the month. Let's go ahead and let's just talk about the planets that we can see. So if we look at Mars is going to be visible in the southwest-west area for the good part of a month. And what you're looking at is a nice red dot over there. In the southwest after sunset. So it'll probably get dark enough around 6 and Mars will be up until looks like about 8 o'clock, somewhere around there. So from sunset to 8 o'clock you can see Mars out in the southwest. The other good thing to remember about Mars is that it's also in the Milky Way, as you can see here. Let's move time forward around 6 o'clock. You can see lots of really cool clusters and such in that area. If you can't find Mars out there, you can change the night that you're looking to the 25th, when the crescent moon will be right next to Mars. Or you could even go the next night, which is the 26th, which is when Mars will be below the crescent moon, and that'll help you find it. The other planet that you can see this month, let me zoom out, and let me look to the east in the opposite direction. And we need to set our watches much later. So let's let time go by. We'll see Taurus rise and Orion rise, Gemini, Cancer. Oh, there it is, Jupiter. So Jupiter will rise after about 11 p.m., definitely after midnight, depending on when you look. Let's see, let's go back to like the 15th, or actually the 14th is a good night. 14th earlier in the month, it rises a little bit later. So around midnight, Jupiter will rise, and it'll be right near Leo. Now every day Jupiter will rise off in the east, just right around 11 or midnight. And what you'll see here is on the 15th, let's go back one more day. The 14th, Jupiter will be very close to the moon. So if you can't find Jupiter normally just by looking east after midnight, you can find the moon on the 14th, which is easy to find, and you'll see Jupiter right nearby. Also interesting about this is if you look at the moon, Jupiter, and this bright star known as Regulus. It's a nice brightest star in Leo, the bottom part of the backwards question mark. On the next night, on the 15th, they make another cool little triangle with Jupiter, Regulus, and the moon all making a nice right triangle there. Good picture opportunity for those of you with cameras. And like I said, Jupiter will be visible into the morning. It'll start off in the east, and as the morning comes closer, or as the dawn comes closer, it'll rise up and up and up until it's pretty high toward the south by the morning. And in fact, the altitude of that is about 64 degrees. So that's 2/3 of the way to being straight up above you. Now, Mercury is not really visible. Maybe if you look, I believe the 5th is one of the good days, and if you look in the morning, you might be able to catch Mercury right down there. However, the problem is that it's so close to the horizon and it's dawn, it's hard to see. But, give it a shot, especially early in the month. So Mercury's not really that visible. Venus is hidden in the glare of the sun, and Saturn is lost behind the sun. Now, the good thing is that those will start popping out next month. But really, we've got Mars and Jupiter. Jupiter, if you have to pick Jupiter. It's got the Galilean moons that you can see with binoculars or a telescope. Yeah, so that's the planets. Let's move on to the events, and let's start on November 2nd. Okay, so I'm now at November 2nd. Let's go towards sunset. And as you see, sunset on November 2nd. Not really much in the sky except the moon. A nice third quarter moon there. Or sorry, waning gibbous. I can talk today. A nice waning gibbous moon in the sky on November 2nd. That's the day that daylight savings time ends. And it ends at 2 a.m. for most of U.S. and Canada. We get another hour of sleep, which is fantastic. Now, what's going to happen is this gibbous moon over the next couple days, will be further and further to the east. Okay? And around the 6th, or on the 6th, it'll be a nice full moon. And you're going to be able to see this moon for the entire night, from sunset all the way to sunrise. Then what's going to happen is, in order to see the moon rise, and just see the moon in general, you're going to have to get up, or get out later in the night. And so what's going to happen is the moon gets smaller and smaller and closer to the third quarter. Now, the third quarter is on the 14th. What happens here is the moon is over there by Jupiter, off in the east around midnight, which means if we fast forward time, the moon is visible from midnight to about sunrise. And in fact, you can probably see it in the daytime as well. Just depends on your sky conditions. So what's going to happen from there on out? Oh, by the way, it's very close to Jupiter on the 14th and 15th. So what's going to happen is, if you're looking at it in the morning, it'll get skinnier and skinnier and skinnier. Okay? And it'll get, on the 17th and 18th, that's the night of the Leonid meteor shower, which is good because you have a very thin moon, not much light pollution. That's great. But for the Leonid meteor shower, it's on the 17th to 18th. That's when it's likely to peak. You might be able to see a dozen or so. Don't expect too much. It's not like the Perseids or the Orionids. It's not that great. The Orionids and Perseids are usually really good. This might be one every couple of minutes, every 5 minutes or so, but just keep an eye out. Just look at the whole sky, let your eyes get used to the darkness, wear warm clothes, and just enjoy the night sky, and just keep a wide eye on the entire sky. No telescopes. Okay? So like I said, the moon is going to get skinnier and skinnier, and it'll get closer and closer to the sun from our perspective. And 20th, 21st, 22nd. The 22nd is the new moon. That's when the moon and the sun are in just about the same spot in the sky. What happens is the moon now becomes a sunset object over the next couple days. And let's go ahead and do that. So now we're looking in the west after the new moon. You've got Mars over here. And the next night, there's the moon. Probably won't be able to see it. It's really, really thin. I would say you probably won't be able to see it until the 25th, which is the first day of a close encounter between Mars and the moon. You'll see a nice thin crescent. In fact, if you let night fall a little bit, it'll be lower, but you can see it a little more easily because it's darker. And so on the 25th of November, you will see the moon to the right of Mars. And then on the 26th, the moon will be above Mars. And if I know my calendar, which I really don't, let's see, November 27th is Thanksgiving. So basically, the 2 days before Thanksgiving, you can see this in the evening before the sun sets. Or, sorry, after the sun sets. And then lastly, the really last thing for the month is you're going to see the moon night after night move further away from the sun and get thicker and thicker until the 29th, when you have a nice first quarter moon. And that's going to be visible from sunset all the way to, let me show you, all the way to midnight about. And so you'll see the moon set in the west, and it sets right about midnight. There you go. So not much going on, some close encounters and a meteor shower if you're lucky. So let me just go through some constellations for the month, since that's what a lot of people ask me about. Now, I'm going to go off script a little bit, and let's go around sunset plus, let's just say like 7 o'clock. It's nice and dark, right after dinner. You can go out and check some things out. And let's go for November 15th, right in the middle of the month. Now, what you can still see, if you look to the west, you can still see the summer triangle up in the west. The summer triangle is Cygnus, the swan, Lyra, the harp, and Aquila, the eagle, and they each have a very bright star. Cygnus has Deneb, Lyra has Vega, and Aquila has Altair. And those three stars make a triangle. They make a very big triangle. It's an asterism, not a constellation. And then there's Delphinus over here, which is very nice. Now, the thing is that these are off in the west, which means they're going to set. So you need to get out there, let's say, before 9 p.m., or they're going to be too close to the horizon to actually see. Okay. So let's go back to 7 p.m. What else can you see out there? You can see a summer triangle. Now let's look more toward the south. We're going to look at the fall constellations now. The two big ones that I like to look at are Pegasus and Andromeda. Now, according to this picture, Pegasus has Pegasus has a bunch of wings or arms or legs. Just ignore that. I like to just look for the great square of Pegasus right here. Okay. That great square is pretty big, almost a square. This star is a little bit off. And attached to it is the Andromeda constellation there, these two curved lines. And if you have really dark skies, you might be able to see the Andromeda galaxy here. It'll look like a very, very faint smudge. That's why I'm not zooming in on here. If you have binoculars, you might see a little bit more. And if you have a telescope, you might be able to see even more, but it'll still look fuzzy. It's not going to look like it does in this picture. Okay. Oh, and Cassiopeia is over here. Kind of points to Andromeda, which is kind of neat. Let's see. What else can we see? Now, if you wait up, you can see the winter constellations. You have to wait up till... Let's see, let's say, I'd say midnight, and you can see most of the winter constellations. You'll be able to see Orion, Taurus, Auriga, Gemini, Canis Minor, which is 2 stars. I don't know why that's a dog. And then Canis Major, which is the big dog over here. But yeah, so you can see some of those winter constellations as well. Let me go back again to 7 o'clock, a typical night after dinner, and let's look north instead. If you look to the north, you will see the 5 north circumpolar constellations. Ursa Minor is right in the middle, obviously, because north is here. 40 degrees up is Polaris, the North Star. And the Big Dipper is really low in the sky right there, but you can still find it. It's usually pretty bright. Follow these pointer stars, and they point to Polaris. Also in the north, you can see Draco likes to surround his prey. I imagine Draco is eating the Little Dipper, eating the little bear. He's trying to hunt it, so he surrounds his prey, but he's got to keep an eye on the big mama bear right over here. So he does this little U-turn to keep his eye on the big bear. Cepheus is up here, kind of a weaker constellation, not the brightest stars, but you've got basically a square and a triangle. And then lastly up here you have Cassiopeia, which is a bright one. I think the Big Dipper and Cassiopeia are the easiest ones to find, or Ursa Major and Cassiopeia, easiest ones to find. And if you have really dark skies, you can see the Milky Way going through. Now, if you're actually staying up and watching this throughout the night, you'll notice that the stars tend to spin right around Polaris. Well, I think that's it for November of 2014. I hope that you have a very good month, and I wish you very clear, dark skies for November and Thanksgiving. Have a good one.